All right, Wednesday, March 19th, Macon City Auditorium, you're coming into town. All right, just before we begin here, I got to do the obligatory thing. I'm going to have my man card revoked. I'm sure you hear it all the time, but I wanted to be you growing up. Working class dog, Jesse, all that. But when Hard to Hold, the movie came out in '84, I was 10. And I immediately wanted to have the vest, no shirt, running through town, hair in the wind with the earring, the whole thing, but Mom wouldn't let me. So the jam box, the silver Radio Shack jam box with the Rick Springfield sticker on top. I wish I hadn't sold it at the yard sale, but somewhere that's still floating out there. So I just wanted to say, since I couldn't be Rick, thank you for being Rick. And more importantly, there's a music lyric in here, I think. Thank you, Rick, for being. Because you've talked about many times about how our journey can be tough through life, and I can relate to that, and a lot of people can relate to that. So I just want to thank you for speaking on that and fighting the good fight. So it means a lot to a lot of people. So thank you for that. All right, I'm going to ask you this. What is the deal with Aussies? Because at the same time I wanted to be Rick, I had a crush on Olivia Newton-John. Is there something in the water going on there?
Yeah, she was a great lady. She was amazing and really beautiful. I mean, I remember seeing her in Australia when we were both like in our very, very early 20s, and she was really stand out. You knew she was going to do something just because of the way she looked, you know.
Yeah.
But she was a great personality, was amazing, and yeah, it was a very sad loss to when she went. It was bad timing.
I know it. Yeah, we miss her a lot. So the water, something in the water in Australia, I'm going to tell you it's something in the water in Macon, Georgia. Now, this is not your first time being here. You were here, a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I wanted to come, but Weatherman can't get the night off very easily, so I'm going to try to get there next Wednesday. But do you know the story about the big names that are from Macon musically?
Tell me.
All right. Allman Brothers, Otis Redding, Little Richard.
Little Richard, the greatest.
Half of REM, that'd be Mike Mills and Bill Berry.
Yeah, right. I know that. Yeah.
Jason Aldean is from here, and then my buddy Chuck Leavell, who's been the keyboardist from the Stones since the early '80s, and before that, the Allman Brothers. So there's something in the water here.
Yeah. Little Richard, to me, he was the greatest rocker. I was actually in the '80s. I was actually at Sound City, and I was sitting on the floor by the piano, and he was playing this song, trying to want me to do it, called "My Name Is Richard, Baby," and I think it's "Call My Name." I think it became he recorded it, but he was trying to get me to record it, and I'm going, "What the hell?" I'm sitting at Little Richard's feet, and he's singing a song to me, trying to get me to record it. It was the 14-year-old me was like losing his mind.
Oh, I can only imagine. Yeah, the stories. When you come into town next week, I know you've done covers and stuff. Could you do a cover of someone from Macon, one of these artists? And the reason I ask specifically, I'd love to see you do These Arms of Mine from Otis Redding. I think your voice is crafted for it. I think it would be perfect.
Wow. No, I don't think I dare try and top Otis Redding.
A lot of great musical artists, obviously, from here. What do you think about the music sound now with the 80s kind of making a revival out there? I know that some of my favorites that I listen to, The Night Game, The Midnight, I don't know if you've gotten into any of these guys or something with the name Night in some of these names, but it's a throwback to that 80s sound. There's the synthesizer, there's the reverb.
Oh yeah, no, I'm hearing that. Yeah, I hear some of that in the newer stuff. It's great. I think sonically the 80s were fabulous. I loved the sound of the drums. Everything was real in your face. So it was. I'm still using. Actually, I'm starting to use a piece of equipment called an AMS that I used on drums all through the 80s, and it's a very 80s sound. You know, you can certainly recognize it, but. I was there, so I may as well, use what I know. And I am still writing and recording, and we have a new record out now. But we're going to have a big tour going on in the summer called "I Want My '80s," and it's me and Wang Chung, which I was a big fan of back in the day. John Waite, who I love, and I'm good friends with John, and Paul Young,
Yes.
and John Cafferty from the Beaver Brown
Yeah,
Band.
Beaver
So
Brown Band, yeah. Oh, man, that would be a show. Is that one come to Macon by any chance, or no, that's not?
I'm not sure. Yeah, check your local listings
Local
for
listings. We have an amphitheater now we just built that debuted last year. It's a great venue, man. It's one of the tops in the Southeast. Y'all should bring that through here. We'd love to have you there.
Yeah.
That album, is that the Greatest Hits Volume 2, kind of like late 90s to now, that's out now? Or is there
Yeah,
another one?
yeah. It's all I think the best stuff that I've written is the later stuff, but they always focus on the hits from the '80s. But we put together basically a list of some of the best songs from the last like 20 years. There's a couple of things out there. We did a redo of Jesse's Girl, which actually sounds like Jesse's Girl, only it's bigger production and hits a little harder. We did. There's a song with the Foo Fighters that I wrote with them for the Sound City documentary called "The Man That Never Was," which is a great song. There's a thing with Sammy Hagar called the Beach Bar Rum Party at the Beach Bar. When we, signed the deal to get the rum going, I did it as a kind of celebratory song. There's some good stuff on there.
When you write, are you words first or music first?
Music. I get an idea for a direction lyrically, but then the music is that's got to come first. Generally comes first to me. Occasionally it's been both together, and really rarely the lyrics first. But yeah, music is I kind of focus on that.
So let me ask you, what are you jamming on? What is in the cassette deck of your Ford Fiesta these days?
I wish I still had my Ford Fiesta.
Yeah, outrunning the chicks.
My brother took it. Wow, what am I listening to? I can't remember what I'm listening to.
Anything new? Do you go with some throwbacks? You go back to the old days?
Yeah. I've been listening to a lot of AC/DC because I did an interview with Bond's family for his, putting a documentary together in Australia about Bond. And, we were in the same bands, competing bands, and had no idea that he was going to come out with this friggin' amazing rock voice back in the 70s, when it was all pop and
Right.
bubblegummy. But I've been listening to a lot of them. It's pretty great. The production's still amazing and this new stuff I'm doing is very big guitar. I'm a guitar player, so of course I want the guitar front and center. But it's pretty heavy. It gets pretty heavy at times, and our show, actually, our live show, has a lot of those songs in it. And it's a real rockin' show because of that. We use some of the harder stuff from the '90s, and we blend it in with the '80s stuff too, and it works.
Well, it's funny that we have something in common then, because you do the working class DJ. I started off in radio in '91. And so for the early to mid 90s, I was at rock and roll radio stations, some of the best years of my life, so much fun. And in '96, I got to interview Angus Young when I was in Charleston, South Carolina, on like a 45-minute phone interview, which was one of the funniest things in the world. Angus can be a hoot on a phone interview.
Yeah, he's a hilarious guy.
Yeah,
You probably have the accent too, right?
yeah, because I was asking him, like, where are you? I'm in St. Louis, in Missouri. He was in a hotel room in St. Louis, so that was cool. All right, so the Beach Bar Rum's going great with Sammy. All that's going well?
Yeah, it's a challenge because everybody who has any kind of name throws it on a bottle of alcohol. But Sammy, he's already had a home run with Cabo Wabo, and I've known him since the '80s, and he goes to the plant. He knows, he'll pick the type of plant he wants for his alcohol to come from. He's very deep into it. He's not the guy that, someone comes and says, here's some rum, can we put your name on it? And we'll give you, 50% or whatever. He absolutely owns it all. He totally knows what's in it. He adjusts it, and he's a great mixer. He mixes really well, and has the gift of the gab.
Yes, I've noticed that with Sammy. He does. All right, so with this show next Wednesday, Obviously, the big hits and everything. Are there any surprises that you would pull? Is Richard Marx going to pop out of a cake by any chance, or is it just you? Just
Richard Marx is in Australia actually right now doing something on the Australian Voice or the talent show. But no, I probably couldn't get him to jump out of a cake. That might be a difficult.
I don't know. I could see him doing
But I mean, my band is amazing, and we're doing a new medley of hits that we've just created for the summer tour. We'll be doing that and throwing in a bunch of songs. I think people generally, if they're coming for Jesse's Girl, they're generally pretty surprised by the show. That it's such a rocking kind of heavy show that we love. I mean, I love to play. Period. I love to play guitar, which is why I go out.
So, having said that, you talked about Jesse. Let's say, like in our newsroom, in our market size, a lot of our people come in out of college, and so I'll go through sometimes the newsroom and say, "Hey, we're doing this and that," and they're like, "Who?" But when I mentioned Rick Springfield, every one of them was like, "I know exactly who that is." And of course, to them, and they're in their 20s, right? But they know it as Jesse's Girl, and I know it's the obligatory question. I know the story. Can you just, in a snippet for the kids that are watching, the next generation? It was Gary, right?
Yeah, well, originally, the real guy's name was Gary, but I started out with Randy, Randy's Girl. I still have the sheet that I wrote the lyrics on, and it's cross outs and stuff all over. And you can see Randy's Girl on top, and then scribbled out, and I wrote Jesse's underneath it. Randy, I needed to be two syllables to fit the music, and I don't know why I picked Randy. I guess I thought it was a good name for the song, But I came up with Jesse because I just met a guy actually named Jesse, and I misspelled it on the record because I spelled it the female way, Jessie, because I was wearing a shirt at the time of a Los Angeles Rams player, Ron Jesse, and he had his name on the back. And it was Jesse, Jessie, and that's why I misspelled it on the record.
Oh, and the rest is history. How is it that how do you at 75 not look a day over 50? What is the deal? How's that possible?
Good drugs. I don't know. No, I don't do drugs. I don't drink hardly anymore. And I work out every day and try to be thankful because it goes fast.
Well, I got to tell you, again, man card revoked, I get all that stuff and everything, but you've been a hero of mine growing up, and to think that I'd ever get a chance to do an interview with you is pretty amazing. So I'm going to be there next Wednesday, so even if I could just walk up and get a high five, that's all, just to say hey.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We'll get you back.
That'll be great. All right, man. Well, Rick, thanks so much for joining us. March 19th, Macon City Auditorium. I know you're a busy dude, but appreciate the time.
Thanks, Ben. All the best.
See you, man.